As an educator, I believe in doing what one needs to do to learn what one needs to learn, and to experience what one needs to experience in order to be someone who can share not only knowledge but wisdom with other human beings of whatever age. And so I need to share some of how it is that I am qualified by virtue of my life experience to bring you into a clear understanding of what deja vu dating is and how harmful and debilitating it can actually be, and what a stealthy, slippery slope it becomes. And it's a slope that leads into a place that is very, very difficult to climb out of. And it takes an incredibly strong spirit, a valiant soul, to even begin to grope, to find the way out of the pit that one can be dropped in. And it is a pit that comes on so stealthily, and then one day you wake up and you realize that you're in it, and you don't know how exactly you got there, and you have to sit still for quite some time to avoid just being hurt 1,000 more times and experiencing death by 1,000 cuts, as you feel deep within you what is the way out. And for some people who find themselves in this pit, the way out can lead to distress that becomes self-destructive and possibly even violent with other people who are caught or a part of this dynamic with you. Now, deja vu dating, I've explained that to you. If you've watched my videos, you know what it is that I'm referring to. And you do know, if you're truthful and honest with yourself, you do know whether this is something you're in now, or have been in, or have been damaged by. So I can't stand in front of you, or stand by you, or stand with you as you make your climb up out of this pit of confusion and disappointment and despair and losses that can in some instances be unspeakable, or are believed to be unspeakable. I wouldn't be able to do this with you if I didn't have the knowledge, the wisdom, and the experience. And so I do share this with you when you come into the deja vu dating environment, and the beautiful, clear, atmospheric resonance in which we share all of the tiny steps that eventually lead out of this place of distress, not being in the life that you would like to be living, not being with a partner you would like to be exploring life with, not being a parent to the children that you want to have or that you're willing to nurture and love. That's as much as I'm going to say at this time, because I need to keep this message short. But I'll share the short strokes with you. My path of deja vu dating started out relatively benign, and then it led to a deeper soul path that required me to navigate deep into my own soul's shadow, and the dark place that most human beings have inside of us, the one that one place that we don't want to see, that we don't want to look at in the mirror, that we don't want to tell other people about because we're so deeply ashamed, even when we shouldn't be. Because how we got there, the long and short of it, is while we may have made choices, how we get started on this journey is in many, many ways an involuntary path on which we're placed by ancestral trauma, by generational trauma, by family dynamics. And we come into this environment as children and we sink or we swim. So I will share with you the short strokes. My journey eventually led me into a long-term relationship, more than a decade, with a man whose dark side I did not understand or recognize because it was consciously unfamiliar to me, but I realized that he was in deep pain. And my response to his deep pain was, I will love you so much more, and then even more, and then even more. And my love will heal you. This is not what happens. This intention to be a source of loving healing for another human being who cannot receive love or can't digest it at the pace at which you are ready to share and give it, this is a personal disaster. Because it is the equivalent of throwing gasoline on a spark. And you don't recognize what the spark is, or what the fuel is, or what's going to burn and possibly consume you when you throw what is the equivalent of loving light and unconditional love. That is actually a form of explosive gasoline to someone who is unable to receive it. And it doesn't matter why. And in the course of my relationship, I came to clearly understand the why. But the only why that mattered at the point I became engulfed in murderous rage and then a suicidal impulse because I felt murderous rage, the one why I needed to ask was why I didn't love myself enough to recognize what this dynamic was and to sit down and surrender to the reality that my escape from it was an escape that would lead me deeper into myself and more self-love and more loving awareness. That's just a form of presence. It's not a goal to achieve. It's not a prize to win. It's not a war or an enemy to conquer. And so Deja Vu Dating, when you really feel those words and you read what I write and you see my videos, you know whether or not this is an experience that you're in. You know how deep into it you are. You know how much it is hurting you. And you know you need to get out of it. But you really don't know how to do this. And I do. And while I can't promise you that you'll agree to reach the level of self-love where you give yourself permission to get out, I can absolutely show you how it is possible. And then once again, you will have to determine what your free will choice will be. Because although we may not come to these situations through any fault of our own, we continue to stay in them through free will choice or through violent intimidation, through soul death, through tremendous pain that I promise you, in my instance, included loss of life for me, and soul damage that has taken me decades to recover from. So I couldn't offer you to come into Deja Vu Dating without acknowledging that this happens, and it happens so stealthily, and you can be in what you think is a decent relationship or a happy marriage because there are aspects of it and of yourself that you are simply not willing to see or be honest about. And so if that's you, you don't need to come to where I am. But if you are someone who is willing to see everything as it actually is, and to fundamentally, foremost, to feel it, and then to ask, not why someone else is hurting and abusing you, but why you are allowing it, why you continue to invest in it, why it generates pride for you and a false sense of strength that is a cover for how incredibly vulnerable you actually are and have no inner resources to cope with in a healthy and loving way.